Hi, welcome to A Course in Miracles workbook class, brought to you from the Little Garden in Sedona, Arizona, USA.
So, my dear, what are we doing today?
Today we are in the review 4 of A Course in Miracles. We're going to do, in that review, we're going to do lesson 144. So the three different ideas that we're going to cover, the main one that goes throughout this whole, 10 days?
Mhm.
10-day review is my mind holds only what I think with God. And then the two other ideas that we're going to cover, there is no love but God's, and the world I see holds nothing that I want. So this is a lot of content today. We're going to cover a lot of powerful stuff.
Yeah. So, one of the ways he described this practice in this review is that if we clear our minds of these ego voices,
Yeah.
if we clear them, then we're open to learn what each of these lessons can give us. It says, in freedom and in peace.
Yeah.
So, peace is always the sign that now I've set the goal of the truth of who I am
Right.
instead of an illusion of who I am.
Right.
This illusion that I'm an ego body, all that.
Right.
Now I want the truth of who I am.
Right.
And that's really the answer to all our prayers
Right.
is the truth of who you are.
Yeah.
Like I'm not a body. I am free. I'm still as God created.
I'm
me.
one with God. I'm
Yeah.
made of love. There's nothing else
Yeah.
about me.
Yeah.
That's true.
So we clear our minds of all these ego thinkings by saying, my mind holds only what I think with God.
Now, that has been a challenging idea for me. Like, what? What? And today it got a lot clearer.
Really?
And there's a metaphor that came to me that helps.
Yeah.
And that is, do you remember the time when we built a fire in the fireplace? I would have to say I built a fire in the fireplace without opening the flue.
Yeah.
And the whole house got filled with smoke, and the smoke detectors were all going off. Well, the analogy is my mind is the house. My mind is the space in the house. The house, if somebody had come to the door, they go, not going into that house, right? It's smoky, it's acrid, it's horrible, and it's noisy. That's like my mind a lot. And when I've got thoughts, worries, concerns, things that I see on the outside that seem to be problematic, disease, disaster, and death all over the world, having to do with loved ones, or even in my own body. That's the smoke,
Mhm.
right? We have to open up all the windows. We have to open up the doors. We have to put on the fans. We have to get up on ladders and hit the button on the smoke detectors. We have to clear our mind because the house is just the house. The mind is just the mind. It's not the smoke and the noise. So that helped me to see what this means. My mind holds only what I think with God. It's like an affirmation. I want my mind to hold only what I think with God, but it's also a statement of the truth.
Right.
The course at the very beginning says, nothing unreal can be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. So the smoke and the noise don't really exist. The yak, 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 the worry, the anxiety, the disappointment, the frustration, the emotional response to the disease, disaster, and death, they don't exist either. They're like the smoke. They're like the noise. They can be cleared out.
Yeah. And that's what he said. This idea of my mind holds only what I think with God. He says this is a fact. It represents the truth of who you are.
Yeah.
And what your creator is. And this is how you were given life through this love extended itself. But this is also the thought that guarantees your salvation. So what is it that blocks us from the awareness that there's only in the mind forgiveness and miracles and blessings for us? What is it that blocks that? He's saying your defenses.
Yeah.
It's your defenses that you put up
Right.
that makes you, to use your metaphor, the smoke of confusion about who I am.
Right. So that,
I'm confused about who I am. And the answer to that is who I truly am.
so the defenses are like closing the doors and the windows.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's like, let's keep this smoke here in this house.
Right.
Yeah.
But he explicitly mentioned the defenses of sickness,
Yeah.
of planning. If I defend myself, I'm attacked.
Mhm.
So if our premise is I'm a body, ego, I was born in time, I grow, individuate, decline, and then die, that's the ego sense of self.
Right.
But once we accept that I'm just a body, then I have to figure out a way to protect my body.
Mhm.
And what's left is my mind is unprotected from what? The attraction to guilt.
Yeah.
That's the only sickness in the mind.
The attraction to guilt and all of its cognates.
Yeah.
Fear, worry, death, disease, all of that is keeping the ego identification in place.
Yeah. So an example of not doing this was, so I run into the room and there's smoke all in the room and I'm bragging, I'm, damn it, didn't you remember to blah, 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 and
Yeah.
I'm going crazy over what you did.
Yeah.
Or I can meet the situation where it is with love
Yeah.
and just be there to help rather than bitch or complain.
Yeah.
Those are the defenses
Yeah.
that keeps away the forgiveness in the mind.
Yeah. So my mind holds only what I think with God is really very, very powerful, because what it's saying is your mind is part of the mind of God. That's what we really are. So yeah, can we all mute, please? Thanks. My mind holds only what I think with God is a way of saying I have never left God.
Mhm.
I'm still surrounded by the love of God. God is my very being. The life that is God and which is all life is my life. Therefore, it's eternal. It's unassailable. It cannot be hurt. It can't be damaged. You know, when we look out at other people and we see a body, I see a familiar body here, a familiar shirt, you know, and the whole thing seems to be real.
Yeah.
But what's real, according to the Course, is that which cannot be changed. The changeless, the eternal, that's what's real. So that's what is the meaning of forgiveness. It's like look behind, look beyond what appears as a separate person, and go to the Christ behind that person's appearance.
Right. Right.
That's how we heal. And in this lesson, it's saying, do this for yourself. Rest in the mind of God, rest in the peace of God.
Right. So it seems natural. So what are our defenses that hide this fact that my mind holds only what I think with God? Well, one of the defenses is my planning for the future.
Yeah.
And that just seems really natural, right?
Yeah.
And the Course is saying you believe that you've learned enough in the past
Yeah.
to figure out what to do in the present so you can predict the future. Like this is what's going to happen today.
Right.
And it's just saying that's just this confusion.
Mhm.
That's the smoke in the room
Yes.
that's keeping you deceived about who you really are. Is that, and that's the kind of thinking that we have to be aware of.
So just to be clear, you know, the Course also says it's not your planning for your safety, it's receiving God's plan for the salvation of everyone.
Right.
So in the holy instant, or in that moment of being quiet and dropping our defenses for a few minutes, we can say, where would you like me to go? Where should I go? What should I say?
What
And
should
to
I
whom?
do?
What should I do? And yeah, we can ask and be given. Then it's not our planning, our ego planning, which is only about keeping the smoke in the house.
Yeah. And he's pretty clear that the sincerity by which you've set the goal of truth is your peace of mind.
Mhm.
That's the whole, because unless we quiet that mind, and
Mhm.
we're the ones who have to do that.
Yeah,
That's clear what he's saying. You have to free yourself here.
right.
But I get rid of the smoke
Mhm.
of trying to, like, I'm going to blame you for the smoke,
Yeah, yeah,
rather than saying, let's gently join together and solve this problem.
right.
Once I clear my mind of that kind of Jonesing that the ego is going to do, then I can hear the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit's voice, but not until I quiet my mind.
Right.
And that's my job.
So that comes down to the power of decision is my own.
Yeah.
That's something that we want never to forget. It's that we are responsible for the content of our mind, and we can know what needs to be cleaned out by how we feel.
Yeah.
If we're feeling upset in any way, there's a thought that produces the feeling. You can't change the feeling directly. You can try to bury it, you can try to hide it, you can try to stick it under the mattress, but that feeling is going to be there, consciously or unconsciously, until the thought is changed. Thought is cause, feeling is effect. Cause is thought. The world we see is an effect of our thoughts. So the place where we do have power is, what thoughts am I going to allow into my mind? What thoughts am I going to keep on working with throughout the day? Is it a thought of how I was done wrong? Is it a thought of how can I figure out what went wrong over there? Why that person doesn't like me? Is that a thought of God? Well, no. What is a thought of God? I am love. They are love. I may not understand what's going on right here, but I'm going to choose a loving thought. That's holding in my mind only what I think with God.
So would this be an example of changing the focus?
Yeah.
So go back to the metaphor of you started a fire, but you forgot to open the chute,
The
flue, and now there's smoke in the room.
Yeah.
And I come into the room and I have to make a decision about how to relate to that.
Okay.
Right. So from my ego standpoint, I can go, oh, good, now I've got her. Now,
she's always doing
now I can show her how pathetic,
that.
right? If I'm coming from the ego, I want this comparison between you and I.
That's right.
So I come out innocent and you're guilty.
That's what all anger would be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So if I know that I'm going to be defensive in those kind of situations, that I'm going to try and protect a certain ego identity, I can say, no, that's not the way I want to relate to this.
Right.
And I can say, well, okay, we got a problem. Let's join and solve it.
Yeah.
Rather than let me get you.
Yeah. So that in that case, you have chosen to think only with God.
That's it.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. And I can affect that change right now.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I mean, that's the whole difference between the Holy Spirit solving it, of letting love solve it. Love doesn't wait
Mm-hmm.
to heal your mind. It doesn't
Right.
wait to solve your problems. It solves it right now
Right.
with peace
Yeah.
and joy.
Yeah.
And just this contentment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I know that those are the stakes,
Uh-huh.
that I can perpetuate an illusion of myself,
Yeah.
that I'm a body and ego, by criticizing, condemning, complaining you. If I know that that's a tendency of my mind, I can watch for it.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I can say, no, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to try and get my innocence by making you guilty.
Right.
That's the darkness in my mind.
Yeah. That's the clouds over the sun.
Yeah.
Or the smoke in the room. Yeah. So it says that this is the preparation for all of our other thoughts that we entertain during this review. So we're supposed to spend 5 minutes in the morning just thinking about that idea. My mind holds only what I think with God. So this counts. And then we move on to a couple of other thoughts, each day reviewing 2 different thoughts from previous lessons.
Yeah. Can I talk a little bit about what it says the purpose of this review is?
Please do.
In terms of preparation. So if you look at the beginning of this introduction to Review 4, it says we're preparing for the second part of learning of how truth can be applied. So what does that mean? So what the course is saying is the workbook is split into part 1 and to part 2. And the purpose of part 1, which is what we're in, is to let go of ego thinking, to let go of how we're perceiving now, let go of how we're thinking now, and then have a new perception that comes from the Holy Spirit,
Right.
a new thought that comes from the Holy Spirit,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what he's talking about. We're preparing for the second part of how truth can be applied. So truth comes first, not my ego.
Right.
I don't want that,
Yeah.
right? That's our part.
Yes.
And once we really do that, then we will hear the voice for love.
Mm-hmm.
So we're preparing for this new way of thinking, this new thought, this new perception. And if we prepare ourselves in the moment by saying no to the ego, we will get peace.
Yeah. So the preparation is for the day,
Yep.
but it's also the whole review is a preparation for part 2 of the workbook.
That's it.
And part 2 of the workbook is, every day is very short, the teaching part, and the main part of it is a prayer. So part 2 of the workbook is communion with God. It's quiet, peaceful experience of God's love for us and our love for him. And so this whole review, and especially my mind holds only what I think with God. In other words, I don't want anything in my mind except loving thoughts and any other quality that you ascribe to God.
Yeah. I want to give an example then of part 2 in a prayer to give you a flavor of what this means to be in communion with love. So one of the first prayers in part 2 is, Father, I will but to remember you. Now think of how loving this is and how it cuts you out of ego thinking right away. It says, what can I seek for, Father, but your love? Perhaps I think I seek for something else, something I've called by many names. Yet it is your love, the only thing I seek and ever sought, for there is nothing else that I could ever really want to find. Let me remember you. What else could I desire but the truth about myself? So that's the answer that we're looking for.
That really goes along perfectly with this. No wonder this is a preparation for that.
Yeah.
That, in case you want to look it up, it's lesson 231.
Right. So it just cuts out this whole ego belief that the ego has value. It's saying, no, you're not really seeking for this ego body identity. You want to remember yourself as love.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for, really.
Yes. Remember how the obstacles to peace say that peace is the first thing we want to get rid of?
Yeah.
That's the first obstacle. Why would I want peace? Boring.
Yeah, I need a job. I need conflict. I need to overcome my conflicts and right.
I need goals that'll make me a better person, Yeah, those kinds of obstacles to peace are held in place by desires, believe it or not, for pain. It seems crazy, but we're not going to look at that until we see that we're desiring to get rid of peace. When we see we don't want peace, when we look at that and say, oh yeah, maybe I do want peace. Maybe it's a better state than this turmoil and anxiety that I feel so often. So, okay, let me let go of that obstacle. Then we'll begin to see how we're attracted to painful emotions. And I have heard it described as an addiction to certain painful emotions. Let's say that you were raised by abusive people. And so you've got fear and anxiety at a ramped up level from the time you're a kid. The idea of peace is like where would I be without my fear and anxiety? Because that has protected me. Unconscious thinking, right? But it shows, as an example, how we can be constantly looking for a familiar emotion.
Mhm.
And so my mind holds only what I think with God will replace those kinds of thoughts, those kinds of emotions with love and with peace. Give
Right.
it a try.
So it'd be important to remember that when it says we're preparing for part 2, we want to concentrate on the readiness for this. So remember at the beginning of the text, it said readiness is not mastery. So it's acknowledging where we're at right here. We're conflicted between the ego's voice and the Holy Spirit's voice. We go back and forth.
Yeah.
We don't want to beat ourselves up for that.
No,
We don't want to believe I must master this now.
I must master this Course in Miracles.
I must get this holiness. We need to strive it. No, that's not, it's just being ready.
Yeah.
To ready your mind, to let love in a little bit, to let peace in just a little bit, just enough to break that chain.
Yeah.
To break that chain of this, like if I'm afraid and scared, then I'll know what to do.
Yeah, right.
Fear will keep me safe.
Yeah, right.
Right. And
Yeah.
I got to be guilty because look the way that I behaved in the past.
Right. Yeah.
Like, no.
So the readiness to continue with our metaphor, the readiness would be like opening up the doors and windows.
Yeah.
The smoke is not all gone yet, but you're doing your part.
Yeah.
And it's getting clearer.
So I'm not surprised when my defenses come up.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that there's a part of my mind that doesn't want this peace. I'm not surprised by this. Well, okay, whatever. Try again. Choose again.
That's exactly it.
That's what he's saying. You come up again when you remember that you forgot. Choose again. Choose again.
Because only one thing is real.
Yeah.
Only peace and love and joy. That's the only thing that's real. The fear, the worry, the anxiety, and even the outer conditions, those are not real.
Yeah.
They're not real because they don't last. The other things are of God and they do last.
Yeah. And so we can prepare our minds to open up. Wait a minute. I can have a miracle right now. I can have a feeling of peace right now.
Yeah.
I don't have to be conflicted by the situation. And then I think, and it's our belief, your and I belief, that there is a plan. God has a plan for our salvation.
Sure.
And we can hear that voice for love.
Moment to moment.
And this last lesson, only salvation can be said to cure. It said, when you're hearing God's voice direct you in a daily way, you have ended the separation from love. Because now I'm hearing this healing voice, to guide me to what should I think, what should I say, what should I do?
Yeah.
And the healing voice is directing me to situations where not only can I learn it, but I can share that learning with others.
Right.
And that becomes the big step.
Yeah.
It's like this forgiveness is not just for me, it's for everything.
Yeah.
It's for everyone.
So you mentioned a big step.
Yeah.
Let's look at the 2 lessons that are reviewed on the hour.
Okay.
Each hour today.
Yeah.
There is no love but God's is one of them, and it is said to be one of the greatest steps. The biggest, it doesn't say the biggest step.
One of the greatest strides.
One of the greatest strides this course produces, provides.
Right.
So there is no love but God's means, in shorthand, only unconditional love is real.
Yeah.
If the love is conditional, if it comes and goes, if the person deserves it sometimes and not others, that's not love. There is no love but God's. The only love that's real is love that comes from God through us.
Right.
And that is unlimited love.
Yeah. So one of the things that specific lesson did for me was to say, love is love. It doesn't have these distinctions. So I think I have one kind of love for my partner, one kind of love for this person, or one kind of love for children, one kind of love for parents. And he's saying, love is love.
Right.
And wherever you find it, that is the deal, right?
And also, I don't know if it says it specifically, but when I was doing this lesson the first time there, it was like, if there's no love but God's, then it's not only unconditional, it's unlimited.
Yeah.
So I want to experience love for the chair, for the trees, for everything. Just experience love, period. True love does not have an object. True love is a state of mind. It's not about the object. It's about your mind recognizing that it's one with God.
Yeah.
Yay.
So in other words, there's not one kind of love I can have with my buddies when we go out and play pool and drink beer, or then I have another kind of love for you. It's love is love.
Or another kind of love when I see kitten videos on
Yeah.
YouTube. Love is love.
You mean the kitties are as important to you as me?
That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. The rest of it is, behavior is guided.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna take care of the kitties the same way as I take care of you.
Right. But when you realize that there isn't different kinds of love,
Yeah.
then you're not making the distinctions that the ego is going to make. Like there's one kind of love for my friends and another kind of love for my partner. I'm not making those distinctions anymore.
Right.
Right. I'm seeing love is love.
And you're pulling back the cause of love from your partner, your buddies, the kittens. Those things are not causing love in you. God is causing love in you.
Right.
God is the love that you are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's helping us to remember what we are.
Yeah.
And the other one is,
the world I see holds nothing that I want. Really? Really? It holds nothing that I want? Well, like I said, readiness is not mastery. So
Yeah.
he's accepting where we're at.
Yeah.
That we see value in this world external to us. We think if I make changes there, then I'm going to be okay, rather than changing my mind.
Right.
Right. So that's, there's only God's plan for salvation works. It said in that lesson, the role this ego has assigned to your mind is to figure out what you can change other than your mind.
Right.
So you're okay.
Right.
So this is where my mind is going. What can I change on the outside so I'm okay?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I recognize, I just have to remember the truth of who I am.
Right.
In this moment.
Right.
If I understand my mind is one with God,
Yeah.
is one with love, and that I can have an answer to that lack right now.
Yeah.
Then I know I'm in peace. Then I'm
Yes.
in peace.
Yeah.
And my mind's not, looking for an answer outside of me when all I need to do is change it right here.
Right. Yeah. Now that the pandemic is over, there's garage sales everywhere. I don't know if it's over for everybody, but I used to love garage sales. And I went to one yesterday and it was like, what am I doing here? What do I need to look through this stuff? Do I need anything? No. Would it be harmful for me to buy something here? No. But there's like no charge on it. I began to realize I have everything I need. And what I really want to do is spend my mental time, the time I have here on earth, I want to spend this experiencing the love of God and sharing it. So, I tried to do that with the person at the garage sale, offering her love and okay, but that was really, that was not a guided thing. And I learned that I have everything I need. There is nothing I don't need. I don't have to chase around. And what am I doing here? So the world I see holds nothing that I want. That struck me with the garage sale. But then I also got the message maybe it was Friday, that unemployment has run out. And like, oh, oh, okay. We've been getting a nice little check because we used to have an Airbnb business and we had to stop. And then they said, you got to go look for work this week and prove it. And I'm like, no, that's not going to happen. So, so what I did was just give it to God and say, you're always taking care of us. We're always in your hands, in your love. And I'll let go of that. So that's it for today.
That's good.